We're unquestionably in the Sincaraz era of tennis now. The last time a player who wasn't Carlos Alcaraz or Jannik Sinner won a Grand Slam was Djokovic at the US Open in 2023, coming up on 3 whole years ago. This kind of dominance isn't unprecedented, but it's pretty damn special. Their predecessors naturally have a lot of opinions on it.
And I'm saying Sinner and Alcaraz against Rafael Nadal on clay. They would be favored to beat Nadal.
From the early days to the recent controversies, I wanted to know exactly what tennis legends think of the current duopoly. And the hot topic, which is how they'd match up against those legends in their prime. Worse, better, or a pointless comparison? You decide. Sinner started making waves on the tour as early as 2019. Alcaraz 2 years later. This gave them both the opportunity to share the court with a few of the greats. Carlos got to hit with Roger Federer at Wimbledon in 2019. And within a 2-week time span in 2021, he went from losing to Andy Murray to defeating him in straight sets. He couldn't beat Rafa Nadal, however.
Rafael Nadal.
And Nadal had a lot of praise for his fellow Spaniard.
What are the things you see in him that remind you of yourself?
The energy, the speed on the runs, and the amount of passion and determination.
Carlos did beat Rafa at the Madrid Masters in 2022. The very next day, he faced Novak for the first time and beat him in 3 hours and 36 grueling minutes. This one was named the ATP Match of the Year.
A special talent.
That same year, he won his first major at the US Open and became world #1, impressing another legendary former #1, Bjorn Borg, in the process.
He's going to be #1 in the world, and I think he's going to be staying there for many years. I mean, the way he plays, the way he moves, I like the whole game. No weaknesses.
But his future rival was on the come-up as well. In 2020, the media asked Federer for his opinion on a then 18-year-old Jannik Sinner, who finished 2019 as the youngest in the top 80 since Nadal in 2003.
I think we'll see so much more from him, and he's an exciting guy and super sweet kid, which I always love to see.
Nadal, meanwhile, when asked the same question, was a lot more reserved.
I think Jannik will be very happy if 15 years later he has the career of Novak. So you can remember a lot of good names, a lot of good perspectives in the future, and then never happened.
Roger practiced with Jannik, but he never played him in a match. Rafa and Jannik, meanwhile, played 3 times across 2020 and 2021, and Rafa beat him every single time. Sinner came up against Djokovic for the first time in the second round of Monte Carlo in 2021. After a decisive defeat, Djokovic did have some nice words for him.
Very consistent, also I think a very mature mindset and very mature tennis player for someone of his age.
I mean, any tennis player knows that things can change in an instant. But somehow, I doubt Novak could imagine then what their head-to-head would look like just a few short years later. Djokovic is the last man standing, which kind of makes him the odd one out in this changing of the guard, refusing to be replaced, which is where a lot of the language around Sincaraz goes, actually comparing them to the big 3. Cut to July 2025, and the Sincaraz dominance is in full force. Check out this conversation between Andre Agassi and Andy Roddick on the Served podcast.
Sinner is looking like an extension of Novak. Maybe not the defensive skills, but when he gets on the front foot, he doesn't just hit it through the court, he hits it through the court. I was amazed at the amount of shape that he has on it and how heavy he hits it.
The robotic Sinner thing, that's old news, right? Well, it's interesting to see that he's still taking up the mantle of perfectionism from Djokovic. As in, this is a player you just cannot get past, in the minds of former stars too. But I found Agassi's response on Alcaraz just as interesting too.
The thing that amazes me most was how little his speed diminishes on clay and grass. Most people who are fast, they go to grass and their speed comes down. His didn't.
That's part of what makes Carlos so exciting to watch.
Now Sinner's the exact opposite, right? Sinner is like constantly maximizing. He's never hit a ball he doesn't really need to, but don't kid yourself from the corners. I mean, you don't put him on maybe Novak from the corners because Novak's great at the ball.
Now, Novak and Carlos don't get compared so often, but I think Andre's right to bring him into the conversation here. We're talking death-defying movement, say, on grass.
This is what they came to see.
It's also worth mentioning the changes to Alcaraz's serve motion this year, which has seen mixed results, but really does look a lot like Djokovic. This was hardly going to escape his notice.
I sent him a message and I said, we have to speak about the copyrights.
All this to say that when it comes to the fabric of the game, Carlos has got a lot of Novak in him. But that doesn't cancel out the more obvious comparisons.
I see elements of the big four in Carlos's game.
I think Carlos is a marriage of Roger, Rafa, and Murray. I think Sinner is Djokovic 2.0.
Just recently, some current players were tasked with guessing the tennis player impersonation.
No, it's Novak, no?
Novak. Yeah, that's Novak, okay.
It's Yannick? Okay.
And while it might not be the best impression, their styles are clearly similar enough to get confused. And then there's the elephant in the room, which goes beyond the court and extends to the entire tour itself: absolute dominance. With the exception of 2 months in 2013, members of the Big Four held the top 2 ranking spots continuously from July 2005 to March 2021. Could we imagine a similar situation with Sincaraz?
We all knew that they were going to be good, but we didn't expect, I think, this kind of dominance right out of the gates, you know?
At one point, Federer and Nadal were the top 2 ranked players for 211 consecutive weeks. Sincaraz haven't even done it consecutively for 52 yet. Still, it's hard to deny that they're head and shoulders above the rest of the tour, for now, at least. Federer is very aware of what it might mean for someone to challenge them. He said this when asked about Joao Fonseca.
You don't want to be the third guy, you want to be the guy. You know, I mean, for anybody, I would think that that's hopefully what he's thinking.
Sinner and Alcaraz are going to be seen as the Fidel duopoly, if nothing else, just because there's 2 of them. This lends itself to quotes like this one.
Well, in the early part of your career when you were chasing Roger and Rafa for titles, and now at the back end of your career, you're chasing Yannick and Carlos. Is it
I'm chasing Yannick and Carlos? In which sense?
In terms of winning Grand Slam titles just right now.
So I'm always the chaser and I'm never being chased.
You could say this contributed to that epic match against Sinner at the Australian Open, since Novak had a point to prove. But it also highlights to me that maybe these legends don't actually like the constant comparison. "I like my chances" is such an interesting quote for a lot of reasons. I mean, there are always improbabilities in sports, and I guess you kind of have to like your chances if you ever want to be a champion in anything you do. So I don't really fault Novak for this take, but at the same time, let's be realistic here. Sinner and Alcaraz have won like the last 8 majors, and the last time somebody not named Yannick or Carlos won a slam, well, it was actually Novak in 2023 at the US Open. So with all that said, and with Carlos out of the draw in Paris, I mean, I guess this is Novak's realistic best chance to win that 25th slam. I'm still skeptical, but hey, gotta root for the guy, right? Sincaraz are dominating their own generation like the Big Three dominated theirs. But that doesn't stop the fans, or ex-stars themselves, pitting these generations against each other. According to former world number 3 Milos Raonic, Sincaraz have youth on their side.
Novak, Roger, and Rafa, they were always older than you. So you always felt like there was going to be like your moment of time. And then they just like really extended how long they were there for.
Yeah, they just never left.
The hard thing is for this group is like, these guys, like, they're younger than you.
John McEnroe, who we all know as being controversial on and off the court, is more blunt about it.
You would make a serious argument with both guys that they would be favored to beat Nadal.
In a matchup in their prime, on Nadal's favorite surface, clay, McEnroe likes Sincaraz's chances. Fellow former world number 1 Chris Evert makes the point about their generation more broadly.
I think the athleticism is becoming more with, the more
Alcaraz,
technology,
right?
we have. Yeah.
This is something you hear a lot of talk about, the changes in court surface and racket technology, and the subsequent increased physicality of the game mean players have had to adapt their fitness differently. Another still active legend, Stan Wawrinka, agrees.
The new generation is always going to be better than the last generation.
Maybe unsurprisingly, so does current player Frances Tiafoe.
I can just move quick, get on the ball quick, and I'll be fine. I can still defend if guys are ripping. I can counterpunch. Then I can turn defense to offense. But now everyone does that.
Then there's Serena Williams' former coach, Patrick Mouratoglou.
The more time passes, the more tennis is professional, the equipment is better, the fitness is better, the level of Sinner Alcaraz is higher than the level of Roger Rafa or Roger Novak at that time.
The thing is, Novak proved he can play with that same aggression in Australia this year, which puts a lot of fuel on the fire. If a 38-year-old Novak can beat Sinner now, what would a prime Novak be able to do? Mouratoglou doubles down.
For those who think that Djokovic beating Sinner in the semifinal of the Australian Open means that the Big Three is playing better tennis than Alcaraz and Sinner, this is a very short view.
He argued that Yannick still played better tennis than Novak, even in that match. Novak just had the mental edge. And maybe that's true, but Novak is 38. It's not a wholly fair comparison. This has been a hot topic since the end of last year when Federer himself weighed in on it.
Every week is basically the same, and that's why you can just go from winning, I don't know, French, Wimbledon, US Open, and just play the same way. Making the surface slower is, for the weaker player, he has to hit extra amazing shots to beat Sinner.
Predictably, the internet blew up in response. And the question is, have the changes to rackets and courts made Sinner and Alcaraz better players, or just made them seem better on a different playing field? If they were put in a time machine and dropped in 2006, how would they face up against a prime Roger or Rafa? Or would the big three dominance be even more ridiculous if they were playing against today's tour on today's courts? Roger was actually asked a similar question earlier this year.
At Wimbledon, when Grigor was playing against Yannick and I was sitting there, that made it easy to think how it could have been, because Grigor plays very similar to how I played.
Let's remember that Grigor Dimitrov was winning that match before he tore his pec at 2-0 up. Roger absolutely would like his chances against Yannick if they're both in their prime, and why shouldn't he? He's a legend for a reason. And according to Australian Open finalist Jo-Wilfried Tsonga, he played against a tougher generation of tennis.
Alcaraz gagnait Roland Garros, mais en battant en huitième, au troisième tour Del Potro, en huitième Murray, en quart Djokovic, en demi Federer et en finale Nadal.
If they had stronger competition and more variation across court surfaces, they'd still be great players, but would they really be as dominant? Tsonga's hedging his bets here, just saying we'd see. Because on the flip side, do these other players like Zverev, Musetti, de Minaur look weaker because Sincaraz are just so good? Maybe. After that astounding Roland Garros final last year, 7-time Slam champion Mats Wilander seemed to think so. There's obviously a little bit of recency bias here, but that final really was one for the ages. And I think it highlights exactly what's important here. You're going to get these big narratives with every tennis generation. It's part of the legacy that keeps our sport alive. There's no escaping nostalgia, but if we're constantly looking back going, oh, tennis was so much better back then, we're just going to miss the present moment and water down these legends in the making. By this year's Australian Open, his last year on tour, Stan had changed his tune a little bit.
I don't compare. I don't compare generation. I enjoy them. I enjoy watching them. I enjoy playing them too.
Federer said something similar.
I think it's important to also be still the fan and not just always the competitor. And today, I'm like...
Maybe Sincaraz are better than the players who came before them. Maybe they're not. It doesn't seem to be something Yannick's too concerned with.
I don't know, we don't... I don't make the course. I just want to play tennis, to be honest.
What the legends recognize is that buying into their rivalry and enjoying the amazing matches they've given us, and probably will continue give us for years to come, is the best thing any of us can do for the sport. And who knows, with all these big three comparisons, maybe that third player coming to challenge them is just waiting in the wings. Alcaraz seems to have a great relationship with each of the big three. Sinner's always come across more reserved. But either way, I think everybody's accepted that we're in a new era now. But I want to know what you guys think. Is there any merit in comparison, or should we just stop looking back?